Some people appreciate my humor. Others appreciate how blunt I am. Many tell me they appreciate how simple my message is. But almost everyone tells me that they leave inspired and ready to change. My best audiences are folks who want to have fun and frankly who are ready to break out of some old mindsets. So, if you're getting outside of your comfort zone, how many of you all have done that before? How many of you all are running your own business or considering it or starting it? Pretty darn daring, don't you think? There are people every day who will go to their grave, and this is not to diminish them in any way, but there were people who will go to their grave and will have always wanted to do that and didn't. Because it's scary, right? And that's okay. That's okay, not any judgment, but for some reason you all are wacky enough, insane enough, or not that frightened. Now being brave is not the absence of fear. You all have heard that, right? It's not the absence of fear. It's feeling the fear and doing it anyway. I sound like a motivational poster, but it's the truth. Feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And I'll tell you, I've done some pretty daring things myself. Things that in my 20s, I would look back and say, oh, I would never do that. Well, I've done them. I've done them and I've survived them. But you know what? One of the most daring things I've ever had to do, and still have to do it, is to change my mind. That's the most scary thing for me, and I mean that seriously. When I have figured out that something I've believed to be true, I want to consider thinking differently about that. That's scary. I think that the reason people are so hard on themselves these days is multiple reasons, actually. Our culture has decided that there's a narrow view of what's acceptable. A certain body type, a certain age, a certain socioeconomic place, a certain level that you should be in your career. Everyone should be going for the top. Everyone should look a certain way. And most people don't. Most people don't fit what our culture has said we should look like, or we should be like, or we should be. So what happens is, instead of just accepting that that's an erroneous belief, people do a number on themselves internally. I should be. If I just tried harder, if I just worked harder, I could be something. And that's sort of not appreciating who they really are. So there's this internal, I gotta work harder, I gotta work harder. And they're beating up on themselves. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about boom thinking. Boom stands for breakout of old mindsets, obviously. But there's another thing that goes along with the B, the O, and the O, and the M of boom thinking. And I want to teach that to you, so you can take that with you. It's my steps for how to help shift those beliefs that you don't want anymore. First, you got to put on the brakes. What do you think that means, somebody?
Stop doing it.
Stop. You just have to stop. What am I thinking? Did you all know that most of us don't know what we're thinking? We're doing a lot of thinking, but we don't know what we're thinking. And this is really interesting. The second O is observe. Start observing how you feel. Start observing how other people react to you when you have a certain thought that goes through your mind. So put on the brakes, B, and O, start observing. But that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to remove a belief that you don't want anymore and replace it with a new one. So that's the O. Obliterate what you don't want anymore, but make a new message and put it in its place. So it's no good just to say, I can have all the money I want. Or, no, you have to know what you're trying to replace. So obliterate and make a new message. You put on the brakes, you observe what is happening, you obliterate what you're most daring and ready to do, and you put something new in its place. You make a new mindset. Are you following me? How many of you all have done that before? Did it take guts?
Yep.
It takes a heck of a lot of guts. I'm telling you. The neat thing about boom thinking is that it can apply to lots of different audiences. And I know that, let me tell you what I mean by that. In every industry I've ever met, regardless of your gender or your industry or your job, people have limiting beliefs. Whether you're in sales, there's things that are keeping people from being able to fully reach their potential as sales. If you're in healthcare, there are limiting beliefs. If you're a realtor, if you're a stockbroker, if you're an architect. So what I can do, I can customize my Boom program to meet your specific audience. I do a little bit of research about what's going on with your particular market, your particular geography. I even do some interviewing within your company and say, okay, what's the primary concern these days? And then I can bring my Boom message, which is fairly applicable to any place, but customize it to say, what are the limiting beliefs that in your industry? What are the limiting beliefs this time of year? What are the limiting beliefs that your company specifically might be dealing with right now? Everybody do something for me. Cross your arms. Cross your arms. Now that y'all just look angry with me. Cross your arms. Now I want you to notice which arm is on top. Did y'all notice? Now uncross your arms. And this time I want you to cross your arms and I want you to put a different one on top.
There's only one choice.
How awkward was that? Does it feel bizarre?
It's awful.
It feels awful, right? That's what you have to look forward to when you just start to improve yourself. Did you know that? You will not instantly feel great. You're going to say, I'm going to get a new belief and I'm going to change my life for the better, and you're going to wake up the next day and you're going to do new things and you're going to feel like crap. You are. But it doesn't happen instantaneously. If somebody tells you the next day you're going to wake up and angels are going to sing on your head and all of a sudden butterflies and little pet squirrels are going to run through your house and it's going to be Snow White, that is not going to happen. It's going to feel awkward, it's going to feel uncomfortable, and you're going to want to go back to the way it was. Because the way it was is much more comfortable. And that's not being daring. People who are daring tolerate. And you start out tolerating the discomfort. You have to tolerate it, just like crossing your arms. Now I want you to cross your arms this time. Go back the original way, the place that feels more natural for you. Doesn't that feel good? Nice and comfortable. You've been doing that for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Now uncross your arms. Put the other one on top. Uncross. Put the other one on top. Uncross. Put the one you don't like on top, over and over and over again. Is it getting easier?
Yeah.
It's getting easier, isn't it? You still have to think about it. You still have to think about it, but it's getting easier, right? That's what's going to happen as you begin to have some new thoughts. If every day you move your wheelbarrow from point A to point B, every day, back and forth, pretty soon that front wheel is going to create a groove over the grass. And pretty soon you won't even have to think about it anymore. That tire, that front tire of the wheelbarrow will automatically go in that groove, back and forth, back and forth. The same thing happens when we think certain thoughts over time. They lay down neural pathways, and it's just how we think, how we think. My point as a speaker is that people have a choice. They can begin to say, okay, I no longer want to take my wheelbarrow back and forth that same way. I want to do it that way. I want to go there now. So it's not necessarily easy because you have to bump that wheelbarrow out of the old path and begin to make a new path, but it can be done. But it's got to be intentional. That's what I try to do from the platform, is help people understand that if you want to shift, you can, but it's also going to take some deliberate thinking. That's where Boom comes in for me. I found that people often can work well with an acronym of something or a simple kind of step. And Boom stands for that, B-O-O-M. You put on the brakes, stop. What are you thinking? You got to know, what are you thinking? You do an assessment. O, observe what is happening. Take a look, observe inwardly, observe outwardly. What are the thoughts I have and how do they affect me? Third, obliterate what you don't want anymore. Decide which ones you want to say, I am done with you. Obliterate it. And then fill that space with a new mindset that actually does take you no longer from the old pace back and forth, but to the new place that you want to go. That's what I try to teach folks, that they can shift their thinking, and Boom Thinking's simple little technique for that.